Hello to all of you, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Erica Messenger, Director of Faculty Programs here at Cengage. I'm so happy you could all hop on today for our session. I just have a few quick housekeeping items before we get started today. As you entered our session, your Zoom audio lines have been muted. That's just to minimize some background noise during the discussion today. However, feel free to post any questions or comments into the monitored chat feature at any time during the session. You can move your cursor to the top or bottom of your screen depending on where your control panel might be to reveal the meeting controls. Be sure to use there's a little drop down on your message to send your chat to all panelists and attendees so that we can all see your comments. This session is being recorded, and a review link will be sent to you in a follow-up email. So never fear if you miss a few seconds here or there. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the session today where we will discuss all the questions that arise during the chat. So know that we're keeping track of those for you. And with that, I'm going to get rolling so we can get to the good stuff. Again, on behalf of Cengage Learning and especially our faculty partner program, I would like to welcome each of you to today's session on becoming a vocal advocate for student affordability and access on your own campuses. I'm so excited you have joined us to learn more about this topic today. In a moment, I'm going to give you a very brief, I promise very brief, refresher on the why and how of Cengage Unlimited. But the majority of today's session will take it a step further and help you each bring the unlimited message to your own campuses, specifically to three important groups, and you can see them there on the screen. Leaders and administrators, led by Dr. Jenny Billings. Faculty and learning support services, led by Michael Lafreniere. And students and student organizations, led by Sandy Keeter. Each of our three panelists today currently use Cengage digital platforms in their own courses and are advocating for Cengage Unlimited on their own campuses, so they have a lot of experience in this field. They will each share with you their personal experiences and best advice for how to become a strong advocate for student affordability on your campus throughout the rest of the spring and summer and moving into fall. Before I turn it over to them, however, I do want to give you a brief, and I did promise brief, overview of what Cengage Unlimited is and why Cengage has taken this new approach. So Cengage Unlimited is all about student affordability. As I'm sure you all know, a key obstacle facing every higher ed student right now is affordability. I have my own students in college right now, so I know firsthand, and many of you are in the same boat. The Lumina Foundation recently reported that college prices have increased, you can see there, by 45% over the last decade, but at the same time, households are bringing in less income. This puts many students down the path to an educational, frankly, dead end. So these high costs are hindering access to education. Even when students do enroll in school and work really hard to get there, many just then can't afford their materials, and because of that, they don't purchase them. Those students will undoubtedly start class at a disadvantage, as I'm sure many of you know from your own experience in the classroom. According to a 2016 study completed by Florida Virtual Campus, 20%, this is staggering to me, 20% of students have failed their courses because of an inability to afford the course materials. So it's clear to us at Cengage that students need access and affordability. We are dedicated to solving the access and affordability problem to usher more learners into post-secondary programs and to help them complete those programs. We aim to build and nurture confident students and open a world of limitless opportunities for any willing learner. So, Cengage Unlimited. We've launched this available August of 2018 for all fall courses. Cengage Unlimited is a first of its kind. We're so excited about this subscription service. It gives students complete access on demand to all of the resources Cengage has to offer. $119.99 a semester, $179.99 a year, and there is a 2-year subscription fee as well. If you're interested in that, we can give you more information about that a little later. What does this get them, $119.99 a semester? It gives them access to an unprecedented amount of materials. high quality materials. Instructors now can choose from any of our course materials in our catalog and still know that they're offering students a truly affordable solution. We're excited to offer students this breadth and quality of content while also keeping costs down. We're excited to support you as educators as you remove a key barrier to learning for your students. You give them everything you've got every single day. We know that. And now we're giving them everything we've got. So I hope you're excited, ready to go. I hope that was brief enough. We can answer questions more in depth about Cengage Unlimited and how it all works later at the end of our session. But right now, I hope this will help you get out there and spread the word. I'm going to turn this over now to our three amazing faculty partners who are ready to talk to you about how to do just that. First up is Dr. Jenny Billings. Jenny?
Hey everybody, how are you guys? I am Dr. Jenny Billings. Sorry about that. For some reason, this whole portal froze on me for some reason. But I am here and I want to talk to you about how you can speak to your administration and how you can truly become an advocate with all of that. So just some fun facts about me. I have been teaching English for 12 years. Before I moved to Rowan Cabarrus Community College, I taught 9th grade at a high school here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And then in 2012, I became the chair of study skills, reading and English, so I'm over those three divisions, which basically means that I'm over about 60 to 70 faculty, but we see between 5,000 and 6,000 students a year. So responsible for a lot of folks and the mama bear for a lot of folks here at Rowan Cabarrus. But it's something that I have absolutely loved to do. And in addition to being a chair for all those folks and an advocate for all those students, I'm also a faculty partner in Cengage user and have been doing that also for the past 5 years. In fall 2014, 2 years after I became the chair for those areas, we launched the largest inclusive access or e-text initiative at Rowan Cabarrus, and I helped not only design that, but implement it and drive it. And since then, we have implemented our model in multiple institutions across North Carolina, but also the nation. So that's a fun fact about me and kind of why I'm the person here speaking about all of this, and definitely letting you know that I have some experience with being an advocate when it comes to administration and speaking to folks in those roles. Here we go. So the first thing that I really want to address are any objectives or, obstacles that you may experience when trying to speak to an administrator or to an administration, especially if you feel like they may be resistant not only to digital materials, but this type of pricing model and, these type of resources available in the classroom. So these were kind of the questions that came up when we went through this a couple of years ago and that are coming back up now that Cengage Unlimited has announced its presence and that we will be, further implementing something different into our current e-text initiative. So the first question that I got and I usually get is who should lead the charge? And speaking from experience, in my opinion, this should be faculty driven. This should really be something that is not a top-down decision, and it should be something that takes place at the faculty level. But something that's really interesting that we're already seeing the shift, especially with Cengage Unlimited and the way it's being marketed and that kind of thing right now. This new Cengage Unlimited drive is really going to be driven from students too, we think. And so we think that, the more administration hears from faculty and students about how, game-changing this is and how impactful this will be in their lives and in their wallet, the better. But I really think at the institutional level, the faculty members should be driving, what the students really need and what they're saying. I think faculty and student buy-in, like I just said, is, one of the most important pieces. That's ultimately why we and administration in general are here at these institutions, is to make sure that our students are getting the kind of education that they deserve and that they come to us for. And so I think the more excited and the more vocal that faculty and students can be about opportunities like this, the better. I think something else you're going to have to really think about, if this is something you're interested in bringing into your institution, you need to hear about and learn about partnerships and contracts with the bookstore. When we rolled out our eText initiative at Rowan Cabarrus, we were a Barnes & Noble college, and so we worked very, very closely with them, and it was a wonderful partnership and opportunity for both of us, and they were really, really impactful in getting the eText off the ground, so we were really, really excited to partner with them. But that's something that you need to take into consideration to make sure there's no contract breaches, to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that you're helping one another. Oftentimes, bookstores will partner with you in order to get 100% enrollment and to guarantee that students are utilizing them rather than going through other sources. So definitely a conversation you want to have. And something to also be mindful for that we found out later, be mindful about the discount book buyers and sellers that are on some of your campuses. We didn't have that situation or that problem at Rowan Cabarrus, but I know other institutions had that and got some resistance and kind of some negativity there. So that's something else to take into consideration and to think about. Something that you will probably be thrilled to hear about is that a lot of these products are already ADA compliant, and if they're not, a team of Cengage representatives will work with you to make sure that you feel comfortable with where it is and where it can go, and you guys can pinpoint problem areas. So this has been tremendous. Cengage has worked with myself and my team very, very well, making sure that everything that we provide to our students is compliant and, truly meet students where they are and meet students at any level. So that's something that we have found to be very, very helpful. Our administration, when I first, mentioned this in 2013, preparing for the 14 rollout, told me that students were not ready to have technology, that they didn't have Wi-Fi at home, that they were terrified of it. And I kind of felt that way, but I kind of knew that this was the time and the opportunity to really allow students to be motivated by technology. They have it in their hands, their pocket, their bags anyway. So through this initiative and it being platform independent, there are apps for MindTap now and for Cengage products. Students are ready. I can answer that question. They absolutely are. And even if they don't have computers or Wi-Fi access at home, a lot of these things can be downloaded, accessed elsewhere. There are just so many opportunities through the Cengage profiles and the different portals and technologies that really speak to those concerns. We still do offer print. Cengage Unlimited allows for that. Students can get that with a one-time shipping fee of $7.99, so they can get print if that's something that was still needed. But that's really, Cengage has done all the homework for me. They've really taken a lot of the hard part off of me and off of you if this is something you're interested in pursuing, because they've answered so many of these concerns and these obstacles. We've already talked about top-down decisions. I really don't think this should be top-down because, there's that worry of, endorsing one publisher and faculty losing academic freedom. But academic freedom, in my mind, speaks to so many more things rather than, just using one publisher. It talks to personalization and customization of what you provide your students, the fact that you can pull from multiple sources, books, products, for one price. It really solves that. So wrapping this up, to speak to administration and to go to administrators about Cengage Unlimited and digital products, what I would recommend is prepare to hear no. I heard no for about 6 months. But as I said at a conference in Kansas City, Missouri just a few days ago, I don't take no for an answer, especially when I know that it's good for our institution and for our students. But I think you need to prepare for that, be data-driven in your decisions and your presentation, and make sure that, you truly believe in it, because when you get naysayers and negativity, you often shy away from it or start to doubt yourself. So you have to know this is good for you and your students, and just prepare to have option B, C, D, however many you need to get there. You're going to need advocates in all areas of the institution, so make sure you have representatives from the business office, from bookstores if that's a component. Student services and advising is a key piece because they're often the front line for students. Of course, faculty, of course, student representation, which you'll hear more here in a little bit from my colleagues. Faculty and student presidents are key pieces here. Again, you'll hear more about that here in a few minutes. But when you present, you really can't show any fear of the unknown. You've got to be pretty confident in what you're presenting and that you know that it will work and that this will do good for your institution and your students. And if you need data, if you need success stories, if you need somebody to hold your hand, that's what we're here for. And I can provide you with all of that. I can provide you with a template to take to your institution if you want to replicate things similar to what we've done. And then last but not least, make sure you survey faculty and students. Make sure that they are on board and have a voice in the process. And that you implement those and improve upon, if possible, as you go along, because you want to make sure that you have their buy-in and their feedback. And as I kind of opened the presentation with, find you a faculty lead like I was and have them be on the ground to help with immediate IT support and how to and answer questions and just be somebody that's present and that can be there for both faculty, students, and administration. Thank you so much, and I'm now going to pass the presentation off to Michael.
Hello, everyone. So nice, Jenny. Thank you for that handoff. I appreciate your comments. We're going to switch over to another part of Cengage Unlimited that deals with faculty and learning support services. So I'm going to take control of the slides for a moment to offer you a few insights into what you can do as a faculty member in terms of adopting and putting to use Cengage Unlimited. So I have three main themes for you to consider as a faculty member. First and foremost, as you look at what Jenny has just alluded to in terms of decision making and the possibility of incorporating Cengage Unlimited into your pedagogy, the idea that Cengage appears and has shown it by example to be indulging in is a collaboration, a partnership in terms of not only making academic resources affordable to students, but for those of us as faculty to help contribute to it in a way that empowers us to add to those resources and include upon the unlimited possibilities not only what our students have access to, but what we can contribute to. And so the content is of paramount importance to me. The price becomes almost equally important. They've made the change here in the subscription process to help us reduce that cost burden that I'll talk about in a moment. But really the content has to be there for us to reach our student learning objectives, our educational goals. And so I think you'll find a not only volume of content, but more importantly, the content is on platforms and in a deliverable format that will help you truly reach those pedagogical goals. So first, the collaboration, the partnership, the opportunity that presents. When you think about it, those two couple in a way that increase your academic freedom. Currently, I reside in a program where I teach environmental engineering and mathematics to support that particular curriculum and others at our institution across the spectrum, from nursing, social work to business, and of course the engineering students that I favor. And the idea now for Cengage Unlimited to provide me access to the bountiful resources that will allow me to create specific contextual experiences for my students. No longer am I going to be limited by a single adoption of a textbook, or even for that matter, one or two textbooks. I'm now going to be able to call and pull from the resources as a faculty member. And so I'm going to be able to have that ability to properly address the intellectual property my colleagues are creating and putting forth through this medium, and help me expand on the academic freedoms. If my department or my units decide to have a central adoption, and it's allowing me then to take advantage, not only if it's Cengage or not, to add the resources at a cost-effective manner so that I can truly rise to the level of academic achievement I've been aspiring to. So the academic freedom is really there. It's the freedom to consider, the freedom to choose. If you think about the recent efforts underway with OER, this is a perfect complement in terms of your goals of reaching a broader spectrum of academic freedom. We just saw in the university system of Hawaii where they had to rescind the efforts to try to go solely to OER for the fact that it limited academic freedom. This is on that spectrum of possibility with the cost benefits and the content rigor that we're talking about, the program platform effectiveness. So let's talk about that a little bit more. The idea here is that these resources, whether you're looking at some of the well-known name items such as SAM, WebAssign comes to mind, Applia, MindTap, certainly, the broad comprehensive packages that exist that are allowing our students to engage in the material, that are been shown effective to help students learn and improve not just their grades, but the comprehensive knowledge they need to take from one requisite course to another. The idea of other tools such as OWL, iLearn comes to mind, aptly. If I haven't mentioned them all, the list is quite extensive. You take those resources and not only put them in the hands of instructors and faculty like ourselves, but you then put them in the hands of your learning support resource centers across your university or your college. You're able to put it in the hands of the library, experts in curating content. They are able to, under this umbrella of Cengage Unlimited, help support faculty with that kind of subscription model where the unlimited favors us just as well in our pedagogical goals. The digital technologies, those very tools I just mentioned, could be given as access account resources to those support services. We're talking about the tutor centers. We're talking about the learning support resource centers, the supplemental instruction sessions, the recitation sections, the library that I previously mentioned as well. This will help create an opportunity for us to not only help with the support services, but our other colleagues that support our programs. In the case of environmental engineering, as I so happen to teach and help coordinate. The idea now of promoting across disciplines becomes much more tangible because once a student signs up with a subscription for these resources, they cross disciplines, not increasing their cost, but actually maintaining it, keeping those costs in check so that those savings could be used to help them in their family, their personal private matter, or for that could be used to divert to tuition to help pay to complete their education. So this then lends itself to the cohort model that I have before you, the idea of creating groups of students to talk to colleagues. It needs to be, as Jenny alluded to, a collective, really grassroots approach for faculty to decide what content meets their needs. And then if it is under the Cengage subscription, allowing that cohort to emerge naturally across English, psychology, communication, mathematics, chemistry, physics, all in help to help students reach those degree pathways that they might have at a 2-year, 4-year, or beyond. There's beauty in this as students matriculate from one campus to the other as they come from other faculty across institutions. These subscriptions break down those possible barriers. So it really does support degree completion when you look at the possibilities of what we're doing financially and pedagogically. So what I want to give you as a couple more slides is really the idea of looking at this from a learning community perspective, to not only take the adoption for as it is, the idea of being aware that your students could save money and share that information. I'll give you 3 tiers of consideration for your involvement as you progress through the learning of this new style, this new approach to lowering the cost and lowering the burdens that might students face as their academic goals are being pursued. Learning communities can be set up. We can start to reach across and cross-discipline, create the coursework that we may have dreamed of but might have been cost prohibitive. We can create the access to additional resources. We can empower and add to the already existing expertise in our libraries. This can be a complement to our core mission when it comes to the resources that we have available. Supporting our students in the light of so many articles, you name the national publications, Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Business Insider is one of my the go-tos. There are more and more articles coming from not only communities like ours in academia, but parents themselves concerned about the high burden cost of sending their students, their sons and daughters to college. We're going to be able to help fix those costs, help reduce them for that matter in ways that still reach our academic goals. This does mean that the financial aid that students are eligible for, my expectation here being grants and scholarships over loans, is still a viable means of supporting this kind of subscription model. It doesn't upend any of those resources. It provides the same seamless access they're currently experiencing with the pay for textbook approach that we currently have in many cases. So what do you do as a faculty member? If I were in your shoes, I would look for at least minimal involvement. Let me tiptoe into this gradually and see what's at stake for my particular discipline or my approach to teaching. And minimal involvement, you're looking at really just self-identifying your use of materials that might fall into that publisher domain of Cengage Unlimited. If you're using those materials, making yourself aware is a good first step, but also looking at other faculty across the schedule that might also take advantage of those because they're already part of their pedagogical goals. That alone, when students start to become aware and couple those resources under the option, not just to buy those resources separately, as it will continue to be, but to collect them under a Cengage Unlimited subscription and reduce costs right from that particular part in fall of 2018. Or you can choose to look at those resources. Maybe you want to go a step further. Maybe you want to see what the catalog really has. Take a revisit to something you may have done some time ago, or your department for that matter. Because as you start to talk to others across your disciplines, or you have a program that you're trying to support academically, or a cohort you're trying to launch, and you have the desire to fix those textbook costs over a period of time, the possibility now for you to send in your syllabus or syllabi to subject matter experts exists in this model. Cengage has those to cross-reference the resources that you're striving for in your materials and match them up as best they can determine for you to closer scrutinize to see if they truly are worth your academic goal consideration. So you can turn this into the acronyms on the screens of SMEs, subject matter experts, or they have digital solution experts to look at the platforms that might best engage your students as well. Ultimately, you could look, as I am, to the full faculty involvement as listing a course not just by ISBN number of a textbook or two, but really as a Cengage Unlimited subscription faculty member. The idea there is that we could look at ways to help students lock in those prices, still striving and meeting our pedagogical goals. So I leave you with that to consider, that the breakdown of costs, if you were to amortize that over a 2-year period, the possibilities can be as low as $10 a month for the textbook costs that are out there as a faculty member to our students. So I leave you with that. I'm going to introduce you to our next excellent speaker, Sandy Keeter.
Thanks, Mike. Hello, everybody. I'm Sandy Keeter from Seminole State College of Florida. We got a chilly day here today. I think I might be in Michigan. But either way, I'm going to repeat probably some of the things that Mike and Jenny already covered, but I'll also add on to it from a student perspective. And I actually thought of one more thing that might help you with faculty involvement, and that's talking to your learning consultant. So if you're not sure of all the products available, get with your learning consultant. If you're not sure how to place your textbook orders, talk to your learning consultant, and they can also give you a list of other people on campus that might be using Cengage products that you can collaborate with. I've been using digital for a long time. I've been teaching for over 30 years. I've been a Cengage user for over 20 now, and when I could go digital, we went digital. I'm in the computer field, so it was a no-brainer for us to do that. I was one of the first ones on campus to go totally digital without even a hard copy book, and it's worked really well for us. So let's see if I can get my slides to advance now. I might have to maximize. There we go. Some objections and obstacles that I want to cover here are what textbook materials should students get. So I'm thinking of this from a student perspective. So students they're in the bookstore, they're wondering what to buy. We talked to our bookstore manager and some others about helping students figure out what to get so they're not going to the counter with 5 different books for 5 different classes when they could just pay for Cengage Unlimited, a few rental costs, and get everything that they need. Other objections are financial aid funds not distributed in time. Well, there's a grace period for them to access everything in Cengage Unlimited to kind of get a feel for what they can get out of that. Do we really need the book and the code is what a lot of my students will say. Well, they're not going to be successful if they don't get the materials for my class. And the problem I'm seeing here in some of the research is that a lot of instructors don't require the book, or they encourage students to go ahead and do what they can during the grace period, and then they don't even have to buy it. So we need to actually, not on the other side with faculty, is we need to encourage faculty to use the products. This is a good deal, and not encourage the students to finish it in a week or 2 or during the grace period. Some students are always complaining about digital crashes and that no one's there to help. If we can educate the students on all the people that are behind the scenes there to help, Cengage support, filling out a tech support ticket, doing a tech check in the beginning, a system check, then we can teach them how to get through this successfully. Some of my students will say digital doesn't work for me because they don't have a computer at home, or they've got no internet or no book. Well, we've got school labs where they can come and use our computer labs at any time, and they can also get a free book rental, and you might even have a copy of the book in the library for them to use. Some of my students will also say, what about splitting a cost with someone, splitting the cost with someone? I have a husband and a wife right now that tried to do that. Well, she can't submit her assignments because it's his code. So that doesn't work. But with Cengage Unlimited across the board, as Mike told you, it could be as little as $5 a month for that student for their entire degree. The cost is so inexpensive. And then as far as being able to keep the book, well, you can rent for the semester. You can always access a book in our library because we have a copy on reserve there. We also have a digital, or Cengage has a digital locker where students can keep their books up to 6 months. They can also purchase the book if they want to. Those are still available through many resources. Now, I've got just a little thing here at the bottom of my slide. It's in the news about higher education saying textbook costs are big issues for the students. So do a little research and you will see that across the board, parents, students, teachers, administrators are all complaining about the high costs. So Cengage has done something about that. Some student comments, again, when I was researching this, these are things that I found online. In students' minds, textbooks are increasingly optional purchases. Well, it's because they think that their instructors are just recommending them and not requiring them. They wait till the first day to find out if it's really needed. And again, I think there's some faculty out there that are kind of hurting us by not requiring the books or encouraging their students to finish within a real short period of time. Do I still need to purchase a textbook for an online course? Well, some of our instructors are using open educational resources, and so they will put everything that the student needs within their online class. So again, maybe there's some misconception out there that students don't really need a book if they're in an online program, but my students do because of the digital products I use within the class. They have to purchase that code to be successful. Students want to know if they have to buy all the books before the class starts. You know, whether the book is necessary or not. I always encourage them to come prepared the first day, but if they haven't bought it by the first day, I let them know exactly what's needed and they can go out and get it without any time lost. They can still get some of our getting started assignments done. There was a funny one I read about, and it was an instructor emailing his students in February, the beginning of spring, and saying, you still don't have your textbook? And students are saying, I don't have the money to pay for the books. Well, my students, again, cannot be successful if they don't do it. And I'm always surprised. Why would you sign up for a course if you can't afford the materials that go with it? And in this one, they were saying actually that you know, the students were asking the instructor to bring in, you know, printed copies of the book for them to class. As far as what textbooks to get, we have a great bookstore option online. Students can actually search ahead of time by section, by course, by section to find out exactly what's needed. And I think most colleges are that way. So you need to teach your students, you know, in some of the early classes, how they can get in and students can see what is needed before that first day. They have to get their book orders in pretty soon, so it's got to be somewhere. And then 7 in 10 students have skipped buying a textbook because of its cost. Well, Cengage is fixing that for us. So what can you do? You can spread the word and help your students. Meet with student advising, student services. Let them know about this new Cengage Unlimited so that they can spread that to their students. I've been bringing flyers to all of them. Meet with student life and student government. They actually asked me into one of their student meetings so that I could present this, and I brought one of our student ambassadors with me. That's my next point. Find a student ambassador with Cengage. If you don't know if you've got one at your school, contact Cengage. They'll let you know, or they'll let you know. The other thing here is I know every semester in my courses, I'm asked by Cengage to give them a name of a student at least once a year, or 2 students, to serve on their advisory committee and be a student ambassador. So you might find a really good student in one of your classes that's gung-ho and a good communicator. See if you can get them on board to be a student ambassador with Cengage. They will help spread the word. Meet with the Academic Success Center tutors. Now yours might be called the Tutoring Center or something else, but ours is Academic Success Center. We have one on every campus. And I know Mike had mentioned this also, that you can actually, if they're a faculty member, you can actually get them, or you can ask Cengage to give them an account, a faculty account of some sort, where they have access to the unlimited materials so they can help guide the students in the right direction, give them more to study from, help them a little bit to be successful in their classes. Meet with the librarians. Add a book to the Library Resource Center if you can. We've got one behind the counter that students can check out and use while they're there if needed. Talk to financial aid about how students pay for materials. Students, you know, they may not know what all they can get with that. So I've gone to financial aid and I said, when the students come in, you need to let them know about Cengage Unlimited and how they can use their vouchers to pay for that, and it might cover all their courses. And then we've got organizations called Destination Graduation. We have a foundation, and we've got SOS for extra funds beyond the financial aid component, so students can have money to pay for more if needed. So my best advice, be a trailblazer. Go and talk to the classes, the student groups, find an ambassador. Educate your academic success center and your library staff so they can help students find the materials they need to supplement their courses. And show students the affordability of Cengage Unlimited. I've been talking to all my students in all my classes, and they seem on board with it. And in fact, I've talked to a lot of faculty, and many are willing to change publishers just to get that good deal for their students. So students need to take advantage of all the Cengage Unlimited products, not just the ones for their class. Take advantage of Cengage products and support. The Cengage support and training is there to help students and instructors. Not only is there a tab for instructors and all the training needed that you can put in your class, but there's a tab for students, their learning management system, and their products to help them get through successfully each semester. The instructors need to require the textbook and not just say, oh, it's optional, get it if you need it, because students won't buy it. And they should not encourage students to finish in the grace period. They're not going to be successful or retain the information or get a good learning experience if you encourage that. So I feel like I'm speaking to faculty here too, but I am talking from the student perspective as well, because students need us to ensure their success and get that rich learning experience. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Erica.
Awesome. Okay, so my little protection from the FBI there was on, so sorry about that. I'm going to back this up one slide, and I briefly want to, well, first I want to thank all three of you, Jenny, Sandy, and Mike, for giving us such great ideas. I was writing things down myself that I hadn't thought of. After this webinar is over, each of you have an opportunity to sort of continue this conversation and learn more by, like Sandy said, becoming an official Trailblazer. So you can go to that link, cengage.com/unlimited-advocate. And there's a brief form. It tells you all about the Trailblazer program. There's a brief form for you to fill out and pass this around with your colleagues on your campuses. You get access to a whole bunch of great resources, presentation decks, flyers you can use in team meetings or with your students, frequently asked questions. The biggest question I get as a Cengage employee is, so what's the catch? So we answer all of those, that there is no catch, and why this is all such a great idea for students, and how student need is really driving this program. You'll also get what I think it's awesome to have a social sharing guide. So all of our social media channels, you can follow them. You can just simply share out what we're sharing with the world about Cengage Unlimited on your own channels and spread the word. When you do sign up, you get a $10 Starbucks gift card on us, and we'll also send you out some special swag. So everybody likes swag, right? So go to cengage.com/unlimited-advocate and do that. So I'm going to now, I have collected a few questions, and I see a few things coming in through the chat. I want to turn it over to all of you. What ideas were sparked, or what questions do you have that you need a little more help with as you go out and talk about this on your own campuses? Yeah, and I'll have Sandy and Mike, you can turn on your video and your audio. And one of the first questions, I'll just throw the first one out there while some may be still coming in through the chat. This is a great question. So, and anybody can chime in here. As a faculty member, do I have to force my students to use Cengage Unlimited? I love that question. So does somebody want to take that over about forcing, headlocking students into using Unlimited?
Sure, I can. I think that's the key word there is force. We don't want to do that at all. We really want Cengage Unlimited to be an option for students. Kind of in our mind, what we're wanting to see happen, because we're still a bookstore institution, we're really wanting students to design their schedules. Knowing if it's Cengage Unlimited or not is really up to your institution, how you guys advertise that. But we want students to design their schedules and to see the cost of the book, and then to see, either the prices slashed or the option of Cengage Unlimited to come to light, and for students to be able to do that if and when they see that those savings are going to be game changing. And believe me, they are. Sandy teaches computers, and one of my best friends is a faculty partner, and he's over the informational technologies department here at Rowan Cabarrus. And their book, I just saw it in a presentation yesterday, is $164.73. So just by choosing, not forcing, choosing to do Cengage Unlimited, students will already save money and will be basically spending the cost of one book, and then we'll have the other options to bring in other supplemental text, even if their other courses don't utilize Cengage products. Students can use those extra, openings in their bundle or book bag or whatever we want to call it, their locker, to help them with other courses, especially if they're needing extra support and extra products. So no, don't force it. Students, will be driven by cost savings, and will be driven by the flexibility of this and the amount of supplemental support systems that they're going to have through this. So offer it as a resource and as something to help them, and they'll choose it. You'll see.
Sandy, Mike, do you have any opinions about?
I was going to say, yeah, don't force it, but I'm definitely going to be putting it in my syllabus and talking about it the first day of class. For the students that come without their books and want to know if they really need it and what they need, I will definitely talk about the cost differences there, and definitely encourage it. Just educate them on it, and they'll make a good choice, hopefully.
I believe in emphasizing the word optional. From what I've seen of the mock-ups in terms of the dashboard, they're going to be entered into Cengage Unlimited initially. So they're going to get the full experience, not forced, but given that opportunity, and then they'll get to choose from the typical purchase options they've been facing for years with one more additional option known as Cengage Unlimited. So definitely a wise way to go.
Yeah. I think that's been the number one question that I've been asked is about, do students have to purchase this? So yeah, thank you for that. Another question, can other members of the university get a user account for Cengage digital solutions, WebAssign, MindTap, SAM, OWL, CNow, and enable resources for students to access under Cengage Unlimited? So Mike, it's sort of what you were talking about with the tutoring centers, and maybe talk a little bit more about how you think that might be a good model to follow.
Yeah, the resources now that you're going to have access to will, I believe, lend themselves to additional help and support from your already existing services on campus, whether they be libraries, tutoring centers, counseling, advice, career centers. Sandy alluded to those as well, in ways that you're going to have to work together to take full advantage of all these resources. And that means taking advantage of the free access accounts that are not only for us as faculty, but also for those who are serving in those support roles. I've seen it modeled to some extent with teaching assistants and graduate assistants. So there are those current examples that exist that we're just asking to extend into other areas of the university.
Yeah, and I will say the answer from a Cengage perspective is yes, we will, and several folks alluded to it, but yes, we can get tutoring centers set up with accounts so that they have access to all of this, which I think is a really great idea that all of you have come up with. Another question just came in. How do you get started in setting up a course and bringing in multiple materials? Are there tutorials? So maybe you guys can speak to that.
There are so many ways to do that. Great question, Kathy. I saw it come through. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. It really depends on, how much control you want on that course is how I kind of view it. Do you yourself want to design it in MindTap and create a master that we then copy into other sections? Do you need help? Do you want one of us to help you design it or to show you things that we've done already? Do you want a specialist on Cengage side to help you design it based on what you want and what your course requires and your syllabus? It just really depends on what kind of hand you want in it. I'm really OCD, as all my friends know about me, and so I wanted control of all of my stuff. So I have to do all the building, and then we copy from there. But you don't even have to create like a true master. It could just be a course that you've utilized yourself that you then copy into future sections, or you can create one umbrella one for other faculty. You have so many options here. But there are absolutely tutorials. We've all done webinars. We have recordings. We can get on one-on-one instructional, conversations like this. We can help you over the phone. Cengage is by far the best customer support and service team that I have ever met, which is why I partnered with them for the eText initiative. I would not have done it without my rep and without the customer service and without Nathan Bennett for Cengage and without all these wonderful people that I've met. I wouldn't have done it. So we can absolutely help you, yes, and we go much further than tutorials. So we've got you, Kathy, for sure.
Mhm.
I love that. Yeah, we've got you. Yeah, and I'll just say, all of our faculty partners, we have over 200 faculty partners right now across all disciplines, using all the different digital platforms, who are available to help you with just a quick question. In the higher ed faculty community, you can ask a faculty partner any quick question you have, or we can go as far as setting up a presentation on your campus, a one-on-one digital phone call to help you set up all of that. So you can just contact your Cengage Learning Consultant to get those set up with faculty partners, anything you need from phone call to a campus presentation to your entire department, for example. So, and all three of these folks travel quite a bit and do quite a bit for customers, getting them help.
Well, something else about that, if you were to combine I know in the past, if I wanted to combine two different books in MindTap, then I had to pay a different cost than just buying a one MindTap code. Well, if you're combining two books in MindTap, then Cengage Unlimited is definitely the way to go. And then you can combine 3 or 4. You can just have so many other materials. So there is a point where I hate to say you have to force them to buy Cengage Unlimited, but it just makes the most economical sense. I mean, you would say you're going to adopt this for the class, and that's what you're going to provide the students.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes so much sense that I think it just the word force doesn't even play because it's just, as soon as you understand it, it's like, oh. And I wrote down a quote from Mr. Mike Lafreniere earlier. And I loved it because you said there's beauty in this. And you said that this allows you to create the coursework you may have dreamed of but was previously cost prohibitive. And that's, Sandy, to what you're saying too. If you, as a faculty member, if you find all of these great things, but before you were like, but I can't have them access 2 books or 3 books, or, it gets a little crazy. Now they have access to all of that. So I love that you just brought that back up, Sandy. And that quote will appear in other places. So it was a beautiful quote. Are there any other questions coming in on the chat? I have one more, I think, which again speaks to, I think, student concern and faculty concern, so everyone can weigh in on this. The good old crash scenario. So Cengage Unlimited is a digital option, right? The students are getting access to all of our digital tools, all of our ebooks, all of our learning platforms, all of our study resources, all of it online. They can, of course, get the rental, the free rental for just the cost of the shipping, so they'll have the actual hard copy book for anything they want to rent. But if they go all digital, speaking to that fear of the good old crash word, how do you all handle that? Speak to that idea of what if this doesn't work? What if faculty members, as our Trailblazers, go out and speak to other faculty and they say, I'm too nervous to require the digital or go digital because what if it doesn't work?
Well, I can definitely speak to that from an institutional standpoint because we're inclusive access, meaning that all of our courses that are involved with Cengage, so 70% of our course offerings are digital. We offer loose leafs as an option that students can purchase supplementally, but only about 11% of our students have loose leafs. But this has come so far over the past 3 years because of Cengage and all the support systems that they have put into place. And so when we first rolled this out, we were new. I told you we were the first. We were the first school in North Carolina, probably in most of the Southeast, to do inclusive access the way we did. And so we had some hiccups, and there were some, heated conversations that came from Jenny. That's how I became a faculty partner, was because I felt like I needed to be on the ground. So, there were some bumps in the beginning, but because of that and because of the magnitude of digital that Cengage has gone, there are so many different checkpoints now, and there's tech check where if a student tells you something's down, you as the faculty member or the student can go and see if things are actually down and what's going on and when it'll be back up. The support team, we've already alluded to that, is fabulous. Help desk tickets, things like that. But there are other ways around it. There are apps now on their phones that can still access things that have been downloaded, even if it's temporarily down. There is the loose leaf option. There are instructional resources that are provided to faculty that you can download in advance. And just because MindTap is down doesn't mean that Cengage and Cengage Brain is down. So there, you have a lot of backup support systems and other options in that case. But, my faculty know to have backups. Faculty in general know to have backup lesson plans and things like that. Every once in a while I'll get an email at 8 a.m., hey, Jenny, is, something down? I'll go look on tech check. But even if it is, it'll be quickly resolved. And the things that they can warn us about in advance, any downtime they do. I think that happens for everything, not just digital learning products, but Blackboard, Wi-Fi in general, cable, it's just kind of a worry about being digital in general. But I can tell you, over the past semester, I think I can recall 2 days that something happened, and it wasn't all products. It was similar ones that were impacted, but they were quickly brought back up, and we were communicated to our satisfaction. So I really don't think that should be a driving force concern.
Oh, and let's not forget, what does Cengage advertise? 99% uptime? I think it's a really high percentage.
It is.
And I think the majority of the time when we have issues here, it's our internet. And it's not the Cengage platform. Really, really high uptime.
Yeah, and we put Tech Check, and I see, Mike, you put that link in the chat there. Tech Check is there just for that reason, just so you can check if it's on our end, we're going to admit it and fix it as quickly as possible. But we want to have transparency that everyone can see if something's down on our end. And we work really, really, really hard. Our teams are great at keeping everything up and running for everyone. So, it's high stakes and very important to students to have that access. I guess we have just a couple minutes left, and I guess my question to each of you, and I'll let you kind of round robin answer, is what did you think when you first heard about Cengage Unlimited? Honestly, what was your and how has that evolved? What do you think now? Because I feel like some folks out there may be having some of those same initial questions or reactions you had, and I think it's fair to kind of talk about your own reactions and where you are now in all of this.
Well, this is this is probably silly, but I immediately thought, hey, that's our idea, because we had gone to Cengage representation about a year ago and asked for this very thing, for a subscription model, so we could finally budget, especially for our high school students, with all of the issues and things that they face with budgeting for textbooks. So we definitely thought we had been heard and that this had been our idea, and we selfishly wanted to take credit for it, which we want.
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
That's right. But we were really excited. This definitely got the attention of our administration, more so than when I first wanted to go digital, because of how ground shaking this was and because of how much so it flipped the textbook and publisher industry upside down. So definitely excited by it at first. The more I think about it, the greater I think the opportunities are. And what I really see this doing is, like I said, I've already suggested that I know students are going to be a driving force for this, but I think this is going to change the way we advise students. And I think that's a fear in some institutions and some administrations, but you're going to see institutions and students that are crafting schedules around Cengage Unlimited and around cost savings.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's good for English, we exist everywhere. You know, this may hurt smaller programs and smaller courses. And so I think we're going to have to think about that. And I think, you know, obviously the winning solution is for the entire institution to go Cengage Unlimited. Yay. That's what we'd like to see. But, you know, you don't know if that'll happen or not. But I'm really excited about where it's going and the possibilities. And we'll be hopefully rolling out January 1. At Rowan Cabarrus. So
for me, yeah, if I may, I was relieved. I've used multiple resources over the years, and I also had a stint where I was running an e-learning program here at Ohio University where I was very sensitive to intellectual property and copyrights. And so using portions that were within that copyright realm became very difficult as I wanted to reach certain educational goals. And so now I've been given free liberty under the Cengage Unlimited subscription to honor both my colleagues' intellectual property, allow for a greater extension of academic freedom, choice, and incorporate along the lines that I'm currently having to address. I've got to face co-requisite models. I've got to face the time limitations that are being pushed down, in my opinion, from state level governments in terms of 4-year degrees and 2-year degrees. And so this fits nicely into those pressures. And as a holistic, the whole big picture, I can now present to my future students the possibilities of looking at this as a fixed approach for 1 to 2 multiple years. And that's attractive for program growth. But one last thing I noticed when talking to colleagues is it's now possible, as Jenny alluded to, not only in advising, but the cost savings can be triggered to move students from the part-time roles to the full-time roles, at least on a cost basis. There's still the sensitive issue of time, work, life, school balance. But it's exciting to know that we've just eliminated a rather significant barrier to couple with what faculty are already striving and trying to do in the classroom.
And I just wrote a couple notes thinking of what I've had to battle over the years. In order for us to keep reducing costs, because Jenny already alluded to the fact that computer science books can be very expensive. The book alone, $165. So once we embedded the book within SAM, and then now the book is embedded in MindTap, we actually, as I spoke to other colleges, I kept saying, go digital, it will reduce your costs, because we just kept shrinking down and then going to the loose leaf. And we just tried to keep getting our costs lower and lower and lower. But I think even with a loose leaf bundled in, the lowest we ever got was $120 or $125. So Cengage Unlimited is a no-brainer. It's cheaper than that. So trying to get down the microsite costs that kept going up, and that was our cheapest method. Also, we have a lot of colleges and universities in the Orlando area. And I do know that students will go from Valencia to Seminole to UCF, and we're all, anyway, they can use Cengage Unlimited across colleges. Not just across campuses, but all the colleges. So we need to inform the students of that as well. I should put that in my notes for next time.
That's a great
point. And then with SAM, I've always been able to add other book content into my course, assessments, projects, things like that. But the students never had access to the reading material for those other books without an additional cost. Doesn't matter now. So they'll be thrilled to know that what I'm testing them on, they can review and study, and they don't have to go research on their own. I mean, I'll be providing the book content for them. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Mike. This was wonderful. Great discussion. Great questions, everyone. And I'm going to end by simply saying you will all receive this recording. Go to the Trailblazer website. The link is in the chat again, but it's also on the higher ed faculty community here at Cengage. Sign up to be a Trailblazer. Let us know how we can help. And we're here for your entire run through Cengage Unlimited and implementing in the fall. And like Mike said, I'm going to leave you with Mike's quote. There's beauty in this. I love it. So thank you all for attending, and we will see you all soon.